Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North East Non-League Show, sponsored by DJ Private Hire, Gateway Accountancy Services Limited, Elite Goalkeeper Academy, and Motivate. Tonight, we're looking back with Stephen Harrison. Stephen, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Pleasure to be on.
Excellent. And I think, like you say, I fell in love with non-league football watching that Durham side. And I always said, for myself personally, it was like you were the Cafu of the non-league. Absolutely fantastic. One of my favourite players. Watching that Durham side as well. But I mean, looking at the players and obviously my memories of the Durham side, and I think when we put out that you were coming on the show, the amount of comments, likes, people saying that they couldn't wait for you to come on, it must be nice to see them comments come through.
Yeah, it was lovely, you know, because I think like in the football, you come across some like brilliant people, and like you don't see them that often, but when you do, it's just like you've never been away. And like reading some of the comments on social media, it was nice. It was lovely, you know, because it brought back nice memories. I keep in contact with quite a few of the lads, but it's always like nice to see other lads like making comments. So yeah, it was really nice.
Oh, really good. I've got to ask as well, how was the legs the day after the charity game? I played very well, didn't you? And, it was a good game, wasn't it?
Oh, it was again. It was brilliant. Like, you know, just obviously seeing the lads. To be honest with you, I felt okay, but then the next day I was like the Tin Man. I could barely move. Honestly, hamstrings and my groins for a few days. Honestly, I couldn't move. So I've been in the ice bath and I'm brand new again now, so I'm okay.
Excellent, brilliant. But no, lots to chat about. Building up the non-league stuff, start with yourself, your journey, playing new football up at Hexham, obviously the district team, 2 years unbeaten, fantastic run, winning all the competitions that was going. I mean, at that time when the team was doing well, do you think your chance could be coming looking at, obviously, academy football at that point?
I think growing up in Hexham, Hexham's like a lovely area. I think I grew up with like football, rugby, tennis, golf. I just love sport. And I'd follow my brother into football because my brother was a good player as well. And I always used to play on his teams. That obviously playing school football led to district football with West Tyne. We had a guy called Neil Punt who was a manager who was like really passionate about football, and his commitment was like unbelievable. And yeah, we went on like a really good run for 2 years unbeaten. But at that time, a lot of the players who were in the district team were like the worst centre of excellence players at that time, so academy players. And I was one of the very few who wasn't. So like I had a burning desire to try and like be a footballer. But at that point, I'd probably say within the team, I wasn't one of the stronger players. Um, but again, like I just playing football, district football with good players. It's just something which I just loved when I was younger.
Oh, brilliant. Like you say, Sunderland did come calling. You signed at 30. I mean, what's it like at that age when the pro club comes along with people that's watching who just hasn't been in that situation? What's it like at that age?
Do you know what it is? Like I think it's something which I was craving for because like other lads have got it before me. And like that was something which I was desperate for because it's like anything, it's like when people are like talking about like, oh, I went to Middlesbrough last night, went to Newcastle, went to Sunderland, and like it's something which you want to be part of, which you're not part of. So like I had a massive drive to try and be an academy player. And I always remember the morning when I played for the district team, and after the game, a guy called Mike Ingo, who was a scout and he's a friend now, and he come across to my dad and said, "Look, like invite him in for a trial." And like I remember the car journey back from Crampton High School, it was just like it was incredible. I was absolutely buzzing, you know. It's like, and once you get to like to the academy, you just see the level. So I went in, I thought I was a good player, then all of a sudden you're playing with players who are at a level, and you're thinking, "Wow, this is really tough." So your initial like kind of feeling, like emotion when you go in there is like, "I need to be better than what I already am." Unbelievable experience because like again you go and work with like really good coaches, you're up against good players, you're playing against like professional like teams on a weekend, so you go from playing like Prudder or Haltersult, all of a sudden you're playing against Sheffield Wednesday. I always remember my first game against Sheffield Wednesday, believe it or not, when I was under 13. It was like the hottest day of the year. Sheffield Wednesday at the time were like the big dogs, like they were like they had like all the best players, and it was like the toughest 80 minutes of my life. I always remember thinking like this much so. But nah, like it was really nice to get that like sort of recognition and get invited in at the time.
Yeah, like you say, around that time, the academy, the reserve side, I remember going watching down New Ferns Park a lot as well, doing really well. Sunderland and signed a pro deal at 17. How did you find your time at Sunderland?
Yeah, do you know what it is? Like, I think a lot of people have like different like kind of memories and like experiences of like being an apprentice and being a young pro. Like, but I've got to say, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Like, I've got nothing but good memories. I think I was very fortunate to work with some like excellent coaches like Pop Robson, Rick Sprazier, we had Jen McNamee. We had, you know, like top coaches. And I think like again the players, the environment where I was with Sunderland, I think like for an academy like which wasn't like massive in terms of like what you compare like a Chelsea or a Man City,
Yeah.
we used to do brilliant in terms of getting players through. Um, I think for me, like I look back and you know I look at the experience that I had, the exposure that you had, just nothing but good memories really. Again, we had a really successful like reserve team. Again, they went on to like have really good careers, and I think the style of football that you got taught at Sunderland and like the the values that you know that are ingrained in you
Mm-hmm.
helped create like a really good environment and really good teams and really good players.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been watching a few podcasts lately on Under the Caution. Peter Reid being names mentioned a lot. What was he like with the younger lads, or did he have that core of experience that he all relied on? Did you ever get a chance under him on the train and stuff like that?
You know, I've got to say, like Peter Reid, like he was pretty open to playing some youngsters. Obviously, he was a very loyal manager. He had like a
Mm-hmm.
core players who he really trusted. Which, if you're in that position, you know you're under severe pressure because you're playing for 3 points every
Yeah.
weekend. And I think he had some like unbelievable talent at the time. They were really successful for a number of years. So he was very loyal, but at the same time, he did have an interest in youth. I always remember his assistant manager, a guy called Bobby Saxton. He was like a real good link between like academy and like the first team. So you know, for, like young players, they get opportunities to train with the first team. Obviously, being first team squads. But I think obviously in his last season when I was there, he was under massive pressure because the first team weren't getting the results. They were hovering above relegation. Pressure from the fans. Himself and
Oh, just lost you for a second there. Back there.
still there, Rainy.
Still, yeah, I just lost you for a second there. I was just saying as well after that, the move to Bristol Rovers obviously fell through, but Gateshead next came calling 130 appearances for the club. But as a young lad at that age, going down to the Gateshead, what was the change room like going from Sunderland into that non-league situation at that age? Oh, I think we lost him for a second. Give a couple of moments there. We're just having a few issues before we came, so hopefully get the iPad sorted, Harry. Yeah, hopefully Harry will be back on in a few moments. So, like I say, we had a few issues just before we came on. I think the iPad wasn't working very good for him, so hopefully we'll be back on very shortly. Go over, which was a fantastic career, like you say, some fantastic moves in the non-league. Played for some fantastic clubs, like you say, Gateshead, Blythe, Spenny, Darlow, Durham City as well, and some of the players that he's played with is absolutely fantastic. So hopefully get him back on in a few moments' time to go over those players that he's played with and some great memories as well. I mean, my first memory of watching Harrow and Durham City, like you say, I was a local lad from Sherburn Village. I just always remember Durham City playing at New Ferns Park and going over to watch my friends play, myself play football, sorry, at the Belmont Community Centre and walking down to watch Durham City play, seeing the floodlights on. I thought, I fancy a bit of this. What's all this about? And just turned up, and it was ever since watching that. And that's where my love for non-league footballs came in, watching the likes of Harrow at Durham City. And what a fantastic team that was and climbed the leagues. I know we'll touch on it later. Obviously, the amount of promotions and success that the club had before the FA rule that they couldn't go any higher because of the 4G pitches, which was a massive shame at the time. So I would have loved to have seen how far that squad and group of players could have went. Because like I say, it was a really exciting squad at that time as well. Any questions for Harrow? Get them in as well, because once we get them back on, obviously we have our quick fire round at the end as well, which we'll go through also with him. And tomorrow night as well, please stay tuned because we have got Man Up Durham coming on to talk about the new group that's going in Durham. All touching on mental health, like you say, we're massive on mental health on this programme. And like you say, we always try and put as much information out there and help as people as much as we can. And I think Harrow could be back. Just getting back on there. All okay, mate?
I don't know what happened there. Am I on your
It's all
screen
right.
side?
That's all. That's all right. I can see you. It's all right.
That's aye.
Excellent. Well, no, we're just touching on obviously the move to Bristol Rovers falling through, and then Gateshead coming in 130 appearances for the club. But we were just chatting and saying, as a young lad dropping from Sunderland down to that non-league level of football at Gateshead, what was the change room like as a young lad walking in, and who was them standout characters who you kind of look up to at that time?
Yeah, it was mad. Obviously, like, just going to the Bristol Rovers bit around, like, like you go down there, you get offered a deal, you cuddle on your dad, and then 2 weeks later, the deal falls through. You find yourself in a position where I need to find something here. So,
Yeah.
luckily, well, I'm saying, look, I went to Gateshead, and it's a bit of a culture shock with the greatest respect. Like non-league football is full of brilliant people, and I love my time in non-league. But when you go from like the professional game into non-league, and I walked in the changing room, and there's some characters like it was a massive eye opener. To be fair, there's one of my best mates, a kid called Davy Colvin. Like we were in the similar predicament whereby we both like fell into non-league football with Gateshead, and we both come from like clubs. And like when you meet people like Steve Preen's an absolute, like, he's mental. You know what I mean? And straight away he's not shy and like exposing you and like getting onto you and like giving you a there, and you find yourself being like young and just getting absolutely battered off this like big strong striker. Again, I think we're very fortunate that there's a guy called Terry Burke who was a goalkeeper.
Yes, yeah.
Wing. He was really sensible. I mean, Terry's like a really successful guy in terms of like his work, and like a lot of the lads in non-league are top lads, good crack, and they live the life on the edges. Like Terry was very sensible, and he took me and Dave under his wing. So like he was brilliant for us too. I think again when you look at it, there was a guy called Mark Ritchies, and like he's mad, Mark. Like
He's class,
the
isn't
stuff to do with me and Dave, like I can't share what you used to do, but like again, you go and you're surrounded by people who would just love life. That's how I would describe it. Would enter the dressing room while just with loads of players who love life. But again, you go from like going in, having your kit ready, having a towel, a few smellies, you have your Lucozade, your energy bars, to all of a sudden you're wearing your own kit. There's no showers, like there's no energy bars. It's you're training on a park, on like basically a school field. And like when you go to train, you got to put all your belongings in a sock, tie your sock, take your sock out, keep it pitch tight. So like those things are like eye openers. But you look back and it was decent. It was good.
Oh, brilliant. Great place to start. Like you say, next on to Blyth Spartans, well, also in 2004 in the Evo Stick Premier. And like you say, two massive clubs really in the non-league as well. How did you find your first spell at Blyth?
Yeah, great. Obviously, I played for Gateshead, and then Paul Baker come in for us at Blyth. Bakes was like a really well-respected coach at the time. Obviously worked in the academies. He'd been a professional footballer himself. As soon as I met Bakes, I knew like I wanted to play for him. So going to Blyth, I think the first thing I'd say about Blyth is like the number of fans they get, like the really committed, loyal fans. So most games you get 800, 850 fans who are really passionate. They're not afraid to tell you when you're having a bad game. I got a bit sticky on a few occasions, like, but again, like Bakes was meticulous in his training, and I'd always felt every time I drove up the A1 to train with Bakes, like the sessions were class. We had a really good team. I think, to be honest with you, with that team, I think we're just lacking a striker. So when I first went to Blyth, although we're playing good football, we just couldn't score. So quite early in the season, we're under a bit of pressure because we're like hovering above relegation. But again, like as a club, and the people like Paul Baker and the lads, like you had some real good players at the time. Like I really enjoyed it. It was a different test because Gateshead, you play at Gateshead, and like obviously with the stadium they've got with the running track, it's the atmosphere not like as good. But when you go to Blyth, like the fans are right on top of you. The pitch side, they're intense, they're on you, and they made it hard for like the away team as well. So I really enjoyed my spell with Bakes, because like Bakes was like was a top coach.
Excellent. And not at Durham City as well. I mean, what a journey, captain, promotion after promotion. Personally, at that time, you must have felt on fire, and how well yourself and the club obviously were going places at that point, do you think?
Like Durham was special, I know that sounds cheesy, but like just like you're saying there, like all the players that were in the dressing room, there's so many I could mention, but I just think like a lot of the players at Durham, in my opinion, were players who were like really unfortunate not to like be in the professional game.
Yeah.
So like you could pick Rasher, Steve Capper, there's so many of them who were just like real gifted players. But I think what we did have is, I think going back to like when you're in the academy, you play for yourself. So you're part of a team, but your drive is to like try and get in the first team. And I think a lot of the lads who were in that dressing room had that experience in academies. And like I knew like a lot of the lads from being at Sunderland. But then when you come away and you play non-league, I think you build friendships as well as football. And I think what we had at Durham, we had like really good managers like Lee Collins, Dickie Ord was there. You had a guy, Chris Copeland, really good characters.
Oh yes, yeah.
What they created like with the lads was just like a real togetherness. And I think like football was never a concern for us. It was just all about getting the right environment. And I just felt like over the 2 years, 3 years we were there, obviously we won the league and then we won the Evo stick. And I think like winning a cup is an achievement, I think, but when you win a league, that like the togetherness that you've got to show week in, week out, and you're going in every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I think, I always look back at them days and like absolutely loved them. And, training, for example, I think the lads used to drive it. Is like, obviously Lee was demanding Richie Pitt, Dickie Ord, but like the lads were demanding of themselves as well. So like, I think every time I went to training, you always left knowing that you'd like had a good session. And again, I think the friendships that were built off the field as well. So although we spent a lot of time there with football, socially, again, like a lot of the lads had like great relationships off the pitch, which I think was like huge towards the success that we had.
No, I mean, like you say, I was only just talking to one of my mates who used to go and watch, like you say, every single game, and we pretty much the starting 11 was pretty much the same every week. Turns, Harrett, yourself, obviously Dicker, Smith, Capper, and on the right, it was always seemed to the trouble on the right. They couldn't always get that right wing. It was always Calvin, obviously Stewie Morris, then Rasher, Dodds, English, and then the strikers galore: Johnson, Cogden, Speedy. I mean, Matty Moffat came in as well. It must have been easy just to go in that change room, just say, right, lads, go out and do exactly the same again with the quality that was in there.
Yeah, it was. I think that honestly, like, the thing is, if you had a bad game, you just knew someone else was ready to step into your boots. But obviously, I've got to mention a player there, a guy called Jimmy Farrell. Like, Jimmy Farrell obviously was one of them players who didn't always get a start, but like whenever he played, he always, for me, he did excellent. But what a character, mate. Honestly, like, you talk about like someone who, like, on away journeys, he had the best voice, unbelievable patter. And like, he was like a real kind of, in my opinion, he was so integral in everything that went on, because he was like the glue that like got everyone together. And I think like it was people like him where anybody looking at the team would think, Jimmy, like, he'll not start on that team. But I think without him, the team wouldn't have been as strong. And again, on the, you're naming there like Stephen Capper, for example, at the left hand side. Like, he was an absolute talent, wasn't he? Like the way he played. So I mean, just all over. Again, the strikers where you had like Speedy, Cogden, Jimmy, Matty Moffat, like Adam Johnson. Like the front line was just like unbelievable. So I just felt that, it was just a pleasure playing that team. Just played really good football.
Yeah, I think it was one of you turned up every week and week out. It wasn't if we're going to win; it was how many we're going to win by. It was just getting. It was that full of confidence. I always remember the game. I think I talked about Rashford as well, where I think we were unbeaten all season. I can't remember top of my head, Charlie or Mosley. They came and they went 3-0 up, and it was, if you remember, the hailstones. It was absolutely coming down. And I just remember the chairman, he was pretty much 2 rows in front of us, and every time the goal was going, he was like, "Get in, Durham City, bloody awful team, load of rubbish these." And then the game gets obviously called off, and it was just going off it. He was saying, "Referee," but like, and I remember one of the players saying that you could just go on the referee and say, "Look, we need to play." I'm sure it was speaking to Tommy English about it once, and he was saying, "We just had to keep saying, look, a referee, you have to go to work tomorrow. We're going to get injured." And the game got called off, and like you say, they won the replay as well. It was brilliant, wasn't it?
Oh, it was mostly because I remember the pitch was rock hard, wasn't it? It was like, you couldn't turn. Every time you turned, you were slipping over. But every time they attacked, they scored, and we were like 3-0. So we were just getting in the ref constantly saying, "Oh, hey, ref, come on, you've got to blow this, ref. It's not safe." And in the end, he did blow up, like. But that was a memory, like. But again, like, the only person on the pitch was Ian Dixon, who was up for it. You know what I mean? All the other lads, like, Coach Dixon, like, he's full of hell, veins popping out, ready for action. But that's a good mate.
Excellent, man. But we always mention, obviously, with the climb the leagues with Durham and the sponsors then pulling out because of the 3G pitch, and we always chat to a couple of former players that came in. that came on the show before, and we always said if that team stuck together at that level, I would say all the players in that prime age at that time, it could have went even higher. And it was a shame to see how far the club would actually go at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, I definitely agree because like I always remember we had an FA Cup run and we played against Stalybridge Celtic away, who were flying in the
Mm.
I think Northern Conference at the time, and Gav Cogden like scored the perfect hat trick, left foot, right foot header, and like we battered them, and like that was our level. That's what the level we should have been playing at, you know.
Yeah,
Again, we had the good. I mean, we ended up getting beat off Histon in the FA
just the
Cup,
one.
who were like they were flying in the conference. But again, we played them at home, and in my opinion, we played them off the park. We just didn't. I think we drew 2-2 on the day, but we deserved to beat them. I just felt like if we had that back in a little bit longer for a couple more years, I think we could have, you don't know what I would say would have kept progressing. But I definitely feel some of the
100%.
individuals within the team were really unfortunate not getting moves away from Durham because like
Yeah,
some of the way they're performing at that time, like they were absolutely flying. But I just felt like, for whatever reason they didn't get away. But if we were given the opportunity to move up, I think we would have done all right. Yeah, definitely, I'd agree with that.
it's scary. I know, like you said, obviously a lot of players then move on to spin route at that time, and it's another 2 or 3 years before then players get back that level. Playing football week and week out, the injuries, the knocks, the legs, they start to get tired. And I just think if that squad was together, it would have been fantastic to see how far that would have went. But like you say, overall, you must have enjoyed your time, obviously, at Durham City.
It was class. Honestly, I always look back with great memories and like even when I bump into the lads now, like we have like a
Yeah,
little chat, we'll share a story, which is nice, isn't it? Because like you know, like with any team, you always have like close relationships, but I think when you win things together, I think it makes it even closer. So I think like now, whenever I see the lads, I've always got a strong bond with all of them. I've got a great relationship, and I've only got like good memories of Durham.
excellent. And the time comes, obviously, the second spell of Blythe Spartans in 2009, Mick Tate and Adam Sandell making up a squad at that time to go and push on. How was your second spell at Blythe, do you think?
Yeah, do you know that? Again, I loved it based on like Mick Tate. Mick Tate is like. In my opinion, like one of the best managers I've worked under. Like
Mhm.
Mick Tate as a player was one of the hardest players. Like he's renowned for being like one of the hardest men in football. But as a person, he was a gentleman. Like I just felt like every time you played under Mick, he gave you like massive trust in your own ability. He like empowered you to play how you wanted to play, and he gave you a lot of ownership. And again, he had a guy called Adam Sadler who was helping him at the time. And like Sads is an unbelievable coach. I mean, he's gone on the coach like with Brendan Rodgers at Leicester now in Celtic. Like the sessions were like were brilliant, but also like at that time at Blythe we had some like real talented players like Steve Turnbull in centre midfield was
Mhm.
like a really really good player. Like Neil Hooks again to the centre midfielder, he stood out as a top talent. Paul Brayson up front scores goals, just that's all he
Yeah,
used to do. Philly Davis left back. We had some real talented players in that squad. And again, I think Mick's style of play, like although Mick was like a tough man in football, like his big principle was like, can we get the ball down and play? So he was big on like dealing with the ball. So again, it was pretty similar to how Durham played. We want the ball down, playing through
mhm.
the lines, that type of stuff. But again, with Mick and with Sads, you always felt like they had your back. So for example, if you weren't playing well, you always felt that they were backing you, irrespective. And that was always a nice feeling when your manager gives that level of confidence. Uh, Again, the team did really well, and we're really pushing on. We're getting good. The fans were coming in. We had good cup runs. I think we got to the quarters of the trophy. So yeah, it was again. I was just really pleased that I made that decision to join Mick up at Blythe.
Oh, really good decision. Before we move on, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's watching. As always, any questions, get them in. We'll go through many questions for Howard as well. A couple of questions that came already. Just Tony Carter asking them, played at Dunstan at one stage, certainly did. And also we've got a quick fire round at the end, but a couple of questions coming in from Tony as well. Best winger that you've played against, or Mark, should we say?
In non-league best winner. Do you know who I always struggled against when I played against him? Davy Pounder when he was at Concert. Like
Right.
he used to like to play the 10, but every time I went up against him for whatever reason, I just always found myself like struggling against him. He used to like agitate the life out of us because I used to like because he wasn't that big, and I used to always think I've got, but he always had that little knack of getting the ball, and he was quite dynamic, and I always found it tough against him. And there's a guy called Rory Stammer, I think, who played for Farsley Celtic. He was a German lad. He come over and
All right.
studied. It's funny because like he used to absolutely like he used to like absolutely ruin us down the side. And I was actually out in Leeds one night and I bumped into him, and we got talking, and he was telling us how he used to be in Germany, played in like the Bundesliga and the youth team at Bayer Leverkusen. He come over to England to study. He had interest from the football league clubs, but he enjoyed playing for Farsley. He was like a lovely guy, you know. And I was thinking, you're a nice guy, but you need to stop going passes on a weekend when I play against you. But, he was always a tough opponent as well. So those two, I'd say, those two were really big challenges for me.
He's also asked as well the best team in non-league that you played against.
Best team in non-league I played against. I think I'd have to say Eastwood when they had like all the financial backing. They like were playing against them, and I remember playing against them thinking, "Wow, they've got some serious talent." But at the time, they like were really investing heavy in players, and you could sense like they had some players who were leaving football league to come play for them.
Yeah.
And I always remember like thinking, "Wow, like these are really good like non-league team at that time." I mean, they went on to have financial troubles, but when we played against them at Blythe, they were like very, very good, very good.
Excellent. And obviously, you spell after Blythe, and Air made a report for yourself, but obviously moving to Spenny at that time, was it just a part of obviously your work, your family that you had, or was it just wasn't the right move at the time for yourself?
Yeah, do you know, as I was torn when Brian Reid invited us up to Ayr for a trial, so I went up for a couple of games. I played against Stranraer, and I played another game, and then they offered us like a deal, and it was a brilliant deal. But at the time, like my wife was pregnant with my first child,
Nice.
and he showed us the club digs, but the club digs was literally a caravan outside the stadium, and I was thinking,
oh, no way.
I'm not sure I can do this. So like it was a tough decision because like a lot of us wanted us to, but at the same time, like going up to Edinburgh to train twice a week, it just in terms of like my family life balance, I couldn't do it. So yeah, I had to turn that down unfortunately, and I went to Spenny really just because I was doing a bit of coaching at the time as well. So like, I had a full-time job, I'm coaching and playing football. So going full time, I'd have to like drop my coaching and my full-time job, so it was a bit of a risk as well. But I think the priority for me at that time was like Sally being pregnant, my first child. You know, I wanted to make sure that like I was there for her. So that was the reason for not signing for Ayr, which I regret now, if I'm honest with you. But one of the few regrets I've got. But yeah, went on to play for Spenny, which again was a lot of the Durham lads were there, weren't they, at Spennymoor at the time. Again, good dressing room, like a lot of good play. I was very fortunate in that respect because, like, you know, I've always found when I was going to different clubs, I was always going to teams where they were challenging and they had good players.
Good signs.
I think like when it's like it's enjoyable, you know, like so every week you're going and teams want to beat you, so you know you got to win. It's always a nice feeling that, and I just felt like going to Spenny, it was a good move because again they had like a really committed chairman who obviously commits himself massively to the club. He's done unbelievable. I think the players that were in the dressing room, I knew some of them, didn't know others, which was attractive because I wanted to like play with some different players. And I just thought that I'd have a real good go at like going for the league. So yeah, signed for Spenny.
It must be, like you say, quite an easy decision with a lot of the Durham lads that were there. It must be, well, just settling into that changing room so easy as well. But the Northern League title came, and like you say, a great season for Spenny, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was good. It was good like teaming up with the lads again. Do you know, it's like as much as it like it never had the same feel, if that makes sense. Like, you know, Durham was Durham. But it was great to play with the lads again, like, you know, Gavin and Speedy and Tommy and Dodsey, and a couple of others. Like anything, you know, when you know someone's game and you know what they're about, I think it makes it much easier for you. So yeah, class, yeah.
Excellent. No, I always say that. I mean, like you say, we watch a lot of the Northern League games now, doing the video vlogs, and I always kind of say the teams that will always seem to do well have that group of, you know, little 15, 16 lads where there's hardly any change to that same team every week, and you'll always see them competing for playoffs, for titles. And then you'll see a team where literally every 3 or 4 months they have a massive squad overall. It just doesn't work in a long league, doesn't it? You've got to have them players. You've got to know if you're playing left back, what your left midfielder's doing. If you're playing centre mid, you've got to trust the person next to you. You can't be changing week in, week out, can you?
Nah, I'd agree. And do you know, is within that squad, you've got to have like some real diamonds who like are really supportive of the starting 11. You know, and all the best teams I've played in, you know, the squad's been like really important because you need good lads who will like understand the circumstances and understand that like you're not guaranteed a game. You have to be patient, and by being patient, that means like you're not going around like, you know, throwing negative darts towards other players. You're in it, and you're like basically invested in the team. So those like non-league teams where they've got like a good core 16, you know, I can guarantee the manager's got them 16 because they're good lads and he understands and they understand him. So I totally agree. Once you get that balance right, I think that brings success.
Yeah, and Tony mentioned that Spenny team with me still the best team that he's watched in non-league football as well. But 2012 came in great, and Harry Dunn putting the Darlow side together. And from the outside, it was really exciting to see the players literally coming in one by one. There was no one there, brand new squad built with the players for yourself, and you're seeing the players coming in and all the hype and everything. Well, what was that time like for yourself joining Darlow?
Do you know what it was like with that at that time? It's sort of like I was a bit of like I didn't know what to do that summer, and I remember I spoke to Gary Middleton about Ashton, and I was thinking, do I donor? And then Martin Gray rang us out the blue and just said, "Can I meet up with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, definitely." So straight away, I'm thinking, "Yeah, I want this move," you know. So I met him down at the Ramside, him and Brian Atkinson, and they basically shared the vision for the club. You know, they didn't like give you any of the. To be really honest, like, look, we think you could do really well this season. 1 year to sign, you'll add some experience, you know what it's about. So yeah, and then I heard who else they were going to sign. And on paper, our team didn't look brilliant. You know, like when you look at the
Mhm.
team, you know, there's players in that league, like Spennymoor had some real talented players, and you
Yeah.
think it's going to be a real challenge. But like it was something where like we're going to get like 2,000 fans. I mean, the fans at Darlington are unbelievable. You know, like the commitment they show, the money they invest, the way they follow the team round. And we're going to games and we're getting like 2,500, 3,000 fans at games. It was
That's
like
nice.
unbelievable. Honestly, it was like I absolutely loved it. But the best thing was like every time I went to train him, like Martin Gray's like really demanding. Like he demands everything from you. And like every week you were geared up because everybody wanted to beat Darlington. And it was a nice feeling like going to them games where like you've got like 2,000 fans like supporting you, but then you've got this team against you who's desperate to beat you. And as it happened, I think it was a great season. Spennymoor were top class that season as well. But I think the last couple of games this season, I think we edged it and went on to win the league, which was that was a good feeling. It was nice.
It must be nice as well. Like I say with the newspaper, I know the Northern Echo was really focused on the Darlow that year, and like on the back pages, front pages. It must be nice to see kind of your names on there and the success that you had that season as well.
Yeah, it was nice. You know what they did, I thought, which was like a top class from them. Like they treat the non-league club like a full-time club.
They
So
did.
like on a match
Yeah.
day with the mascots, the programs, they had the media there, they had the interviews. Everything was like basically like set up to be like a full-time club, but we were part-time. And I thought like that was a touch of class. The way that like a lot of people who volunteered, but also you had like some paid staff they made the experience, like the match experience, feel like you felt like $1 million going every game. And I thought that was a class act off the club and off the staff.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you mentioned the Darlow fans. Well, I know we've got a few who always come on and help out on our shows as well. Great lads. But that the Northern League title, the promotion, the Evo stick, how good was it playing when obviously you're playing well, you're winning well? What them crowds, it means so much. But I think as well, when if you are getting beat or you're kind of going in 1-1 them last 10 minutes, it can almost push the ball over the line for that final goal, can't it? When you've got that amount of fans backing you.
Oh, definitely. Honestly, like like we like go away to like games, and then you'd get warmed up, and then by the time you come for kick off, it was just like all you see those Adolo fans. It was unbelievable. Like, and I always remember we played Whitley Bay away, and I went up this line. I've set up a goal, and all of a sudden I started singing like Paradise, but sang Paradise. You know the Coldplay, and they were singing like Paradise. And I remember just thinking, what is going on here? Like, but it was just class. It made you feel unbelievable, and like there was so many games where like we're on the edge, but like they were like the extra player for us because like the opposition, you could sense they're just getting a bit nervous, and once like they
Yeah.
were getting nervous, like we get our tails up and we'd be at them. So I good memories, really good memories.
No, it was a good as well for the teams that were in that league and the same amount of crowds that was coming through the turnstile, the gate money, the money in the bar. It just helped so much in the Northern League that season, didn't it?
I do. I think it brought like the really good attention to the league, didn't it? I think like all of a
Yeah.
sudden like it was like this big club, big name, and I just think the way like Dollar went about it as well, like as a club. I mean,
Mhm.
the way supporters go on all these non-league grounds, like you say, and help generate money. They were like spending like obviously getting drinks, and I think like I think everyone embraced them. I think like everyone like brought them in and like enjoyed it, didn't they? Because it just added like noise to games. Like when you go and watch
Yeah,
a game, you want to feel an atmosphere, don't you? You don't want to be stood there with like 50 people in
exactly.
it
Yeah.
and all the players from the opposition loved it as well. So I think like Darlow doing that and the way they went about themselves, it showed like class in my opinion. And I think it just added like something different to the league.
And Tony's asking as well, what's your opinion on non-league standard now compared to when you played in
Do you know what it is? I feel like when I watch non-league now, I love non-league. I love watching, like,
it?
I go and watch Gateshead. Obviously, I'm mates with like Mags. I love watching Gateshead's like the non-league Barcelona. They play unbelievable football. I've been out and
Yeah,
watched Dunson a couple of times. I've seen Wickham. What I would say, I think like football now, I think there's less craft and guy. Like I just felt like if I went back 10 years, you had some real intelligent footballers who could like
yeah,
had brilliant receiving skills, really clever. They could open defenses up. I just feel now when I watch it, there's like more athletes who aren't like
yeah. Uh-huh.
good at football, if that makes sense. So I do think like I think the Northeast has suffered because of the pyramid and like teams moving up. So I think there's some really good players within it, but I think the general standard has dropped in my opinion. However, what I would like to say on that is there's still some really good individuals within the non-league. So I went and
Mhm.
watched Blue Star a couple of weeks ago, and I felt there was a couple of real good youngsters in there. So I love taking my littlest one to the non-league stuff because he's only 5 now. So like we've got season tickets for Newcastle, but I always make a point of taking to watch non-league because it's just good crack, isn't it? When you go there,
Same.
like
Yeah.
you'll see a goal, you'll see a scrap, you'll see a bad decision off the ref. It's good. So like I take him down, once a month, something like that.
Aye, kind of be like you say, we always go around the hubs just around the corner. At the minute, obviously, all the games that's getting called off all on pitches. There's every other team playing there every night of the week at the minute. It's fantastic
I
going
know.
down and just quickly ask all kind of walk out with the players, they're walking out holding hands, they'll go and have a kick ball on the pitch at half time. You kind of do that at St James's Park. It's fantastic, man, isn't
Yeah,
it? The kids
class.
absolutely love it as
Mm,
well. But I mean, just touching on the pyramid there as well, and I think we always ask players that played, say, 10 years ago compared to now, where you've got literally a step up from Northern League Division 2 right up to Football League now, a club from the North East in every division. For teams, for players, for managers, now it's so easy to climb a pyramid if you have a good enough season, if you're a striker putting the goals in, if goalkeeper not conceding so many goals, or a manager have a good season, you've got that positions now to climb up the leagues as much as you can now, can't you?
mm. That's the thing. I always find it's a challenge for managers now because, like, for example, like just touched on there, like if you've got a really good striker and he's banging in loads of goals, and then a team from the pyramid above come after him, I think every player's ambitions to play as high as they possibly can. So it's really hard to keep your best players. I think that'll be a real challenge. I think it's great that any players who are playing like just in second division Northern League now they can see the teams in the area playing the high division. It's a great
Yeah.
carrot to go after, isn't it? Because you want to bet yourself when you're a player. I think a lot of people think players are driven by money. I don't think they are. I think a lot of players are driven by moving up there to a higher
Hmm.
standard. And I think that's something that every player should have, irrespective of what level you play at. You should always want to be the best version of yourself. So I think like the hardest thing for managers now is hold on to your best players. And I think for any player, you want to be playing as high as you possibly can.
100%. And now, obviously, packing in playing football, but like you say, the football just never leaves you. The coaching now, your son playing football, I bet it's just football non-stop every day for you now, still again.
Honestly, I can't get away from football. My wife, she's not a big football to be fair, like, but like all my kids love it. So like, it's great for us. Like I'm just dead fortunate that all my kids love what I love. So like, I've got an
Yeah.
excuse to go out and watch football. But like for my wife, she's like, "Oh, do I have to go to football again?" I'm like, oh, "Unfortunately, you do." But deep down, I'm buzzing about it. You know what I mean?
No, it's class. But no, quick fire round now, which I'm really looking forward to. Some amazing answers coming up. So 5 questions that we always ask each guest that comes on. So question 1, best manager that you worked under and why?
Best manager. It's a tough one. Like I've got so many good managers
Right.
I've played under. Like if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Mick Tate. I've got to say Mick Tate. I think like Mick Tate's a gentleman, and like when I played under Mick, I actually thought I want to be like you as a person because he was
Mhm.
like he had integrity. He was really honest. I just felt like he put a lot of trust in you. I think the way he was as a person, he was really warm and kind. And I think because he was so kind to you, that allowed him to be like hard on you. And
Yeah.
in all my time with him, like he must have raised his voice once to the team because I think he just like he gained that respect from like who he was and how he went about like speaking to you and treating you. So I think Mick Tate was like a top manager in my opinion.
Excellent. Number 2, best teammate that you played with and why? So
Best
many.
team. There's so many like Craig Robson, top lad, like Speedy. I'd have to say like on this one, like I love Preeny Tomo. Like honestly, there's so many good lads, but I'm going to say Davy Colvin because best teammate. Because I think when me and Davy first started in the non-league, we were in the same circumstance, so we both got the game at the same time, and then we started like sharing lifts to training. So I think we shared a lot of our emotions with each other. So like when you're a bit disillusioned with life, like he was that conversation. I used to speak to him a lot, and I just felt like we shared so much with each other about like what we're experiencing, and I think on the back of that we've become like really close friends. So I'd have to say Davy Colvin.
Really good. And number 3, I know Tony's asked me before, best winger played against, but overall, who would be the best opposition player that you've played on the same field as?
James, I'm going to stick on there. I'm going to go like, this is just my opinion, like the best player not to like play football league, in my opinion, is Gav Cogden. I just think like Gav was just like electric, like when he's on your team, you loved him because like he was like a rush, he was quick, he was dynamic, he was both footed, he was like an unbelievable athlete. And I think like when you played against him, you always knew you were in it for like 90 minutes. So I'd have to say like Gav Cogden.
Good reply. I think we get that one a lot. Well, that question there is always mentioned. Number 4, your best footballer moment.
Best football moment. Again, best football moment. Do you know, I think it's got to be, I love Win the League with Durham, the Evo stick, because that was like unbelievable. Like with the players I played with and the friendships that I had within the group, that was special. But I think when I won the league with Darlow, because like I think I was coming towards the end of my football, and my dad was there that whole season. My dad come to every single game, like because I think he knew that I was coming towards the end. So I think he thought I'm going to skip like. And I remember like when the night we won the league, my dad was there, and we lifted the trophy. It was just nice, and that was a nice moment because I think like we both knew at that point that's probably the last time I'm going to actually win anything. So I'd probably say win the league at Darlow.
Excellent. Number 5, this is where the panic always comes on the face. Funniest football moment that you can remember or willing to mention.
Jeez, I'll probably mention this one. Like I'm not going to mention whose name it is, right? But it reminds us of like Ben Ryan. Like I still follow Ben on social media and stuff, and I always remember like when I was at Durham, a few of the Durham lads went for some food in an Italian restaurant, and they were like the Sunderland-based lads went for some food. Long story short, basically one of the lads took a shine to the Russian waitress, so he's gone off the toilet to catch her eye, and when he's gone in the toilet, Ben Ryan's got a new mobile at this point, but the player doesn't realise. So he's gone up, he's wrote the number on a napkin, give it to the Russian waitress and said, when he comes back to the table, drop this on his knee. And she's like, okay. So anyways, the lad come out the toilet, sat down, and she's walked past, put this napkin on his knee. He's opened it up and he's seen this number. So he's buzzing. So anyways, next thing you know, he discreetly sends a message to her, not knowing that Ben's got his phone in his pocket, right? So he sent a message and Ben's phone's pinged. So Ben's laughing. And so he sent one back. I think Ben sent one back. I don't know the exact wording, but I'm at work. I can't speak. Like text us tomorrow. So he sent one back. Next day, the player sends Ben a message. Oh, I think you're lush. I want to take you out. So anyways, he's like Ben's replied to the player. Obviously, the player thinks it's the Russian waitress, but it's Ben. And he's like, oh, do you really? Sends a picture of your muscles. So this player's like, obviously, he sent a picture of his muscle, of his bicep, but he's pushed his bicep up so it looks massive. And then like obviously Ben replies saying, oh, you're really strong. So anyways, he sent him back saying, send me a picture. So Adam Johnson at this point's like put like his mum's bra on and just showing a picture of his shoulder with like the bra strap. So anyways, they've got him at this point, and then so then they send a message back to the player saying, go on, send us another picture. So obviously the player sent a picture of his upper body. He's tensed right up, with his torso. So like at this point, Ben sent him back saying, oh, you look really strong. And he said, oh, send another picture. So this time Adam Johnson's put the bra on and he's took a picture and he's pushed his pecs together so it looks like cleavage and sent it back to the player, right? So at this point, he sent back saying, oh, they're lush. So anyways, right, they've sent them back to the player saying, go on, you send another picture. So at this point, he sent a picture of his like thigh muscle. So Ben sent him back saying, wow, you're really strong. And then the players asked for another picture. So Adam Johnson at this point put the thong on and they took a picture and then like sent it through. He's like, oh, you've got a lush backside, right? So Ben said, send one more picture of himself. So like the player at this point's gone all in, right? And he sent a picture of himself excited. So then Ben sent me back saying, right, I'll meet you on Saturday night. He's briefed all the lads. So anyways, he's texted the lads, said, look, come to the game early on Saturday. And what they did is they printed out all the messages and the pictures that had been sent through his inbox. And the way it was at New Friends Park, when you went in the changing room, you had like a wall, a partition wall, and this place to sit there. So all the lads are sat down, and on the Saturday, this player walks in the door and he looks up and he just sees all the messages and all the pictures, and he realizes what he's done. And when he's walked on the partition, he's seen the final picture he sent through Ben's inbox. He was devastated. Like, we were creased. But honestly, it was absolutely class. But Adam Johnson played a blinder, like with all these pictures and like lingerie and that. So it was class, absolutely class. I can't name his name, like, but great lad.
Brilliant, man. Absolutely class. But no, Harry, honestly, thank you so much. And on a great story there. Absolutely pleasure having you on. Fantastic stories. And thank you so much for coming on.
No, it's been a pleasure. Cheers, Rennie.
Excellent. Ian just mentioned there, thank you so much for your time at Darlow as well. Much appreciated. And Tony, great show as always, lads. Yeah, thank you again, everyone that's been watching. Really appreciate the support as always. Excellent. But no, please, like you say, come back tomorrow night. We've got our Man Up Durham special. A new group that's starting in Durham about mental health. I know we pushed as much as we can on these shows as well. We're going to be chatting to the group owner as well tomorrow about that as well. And back next week, a few more shows, pretty much all booked out for next month as well. So keep watching, lots of stuff coming up, more plenty of video vlogs coming up as well. Please subscribe, help the channel grow as much as you can as well. But again, everyone that's been watching, Farah, thank you so much, and I hope you both enjoy the rest of your night as well.